Welcome back to Movies TV Mad and the Movies TV Mad Daily. And have we got a packed daily show for you today? Zonks full of zonks. Where did I get that through? Scooby-Doo zoinks. We got so many headlines and entertainment updates for you here today. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter, where I'm also called @MoviesTVMad. So come and follow me on there too. So I want to talk about yesterday's or last night's, from my timeline, Superman and Lois episode, because we had a major reveal. Now, spoilers ahead. Now, when they were casting Superman and Lois, before a ball was kicked or before a shot was shot, we found out that Adam Rayner would be playing Morgan Edge. And Aaron was saying, but they've already had a Morgan Edge in the Arrowverse. How can this be possible? Well, of course, with Crisis on Infinite Earths, that would have been plausible anyway. But we now know that Morgan Edge is a fake name. We now know, and I can't remember his Kryptonian name, he's revealed himself as Superman's half-brother. And he's been planning to bring back the Kryptonians via putting them into human bodies. He's putting the souls in human bodies. Now, this is a very, very similar concept to what they did in Man of Steel. Now, in Man of Steel, the Codex is basically the billions of Kryptonian cells. Now, they're all inside Superman. So Zod wants to extract those cells. So all these Kryptonians can live on Earth. Imagine that. So instead of that, this character, who's not Morgan Edge, whose name I forget, basically is putting souls in human bodies. So it's a pretty similar concept if you think about it. So is Superman and Lois ripping off Man of Steel? To a point, it is. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean there's no originality there. You know, it's still an original take with the boys, with them moving to Smallville. There's other elements to the show. But can Superman and Lois get right what some perceive Man of Steel, Goya, Nolan, and Snyder got wrong in terms of the destruction? In the opening sequence, and apart from last week's episode at the ending, you know, this guy who was Morgan Edge, but that's not Morgan Edge, and Clark, Kal-El, Superman, meet somewhere abandoned. And you see them have a mini fight at the end of the last episode. Well, not really a fight. And you see him go for Superman again at the beginning of this episode. No destruction, no explosions in buildings. It's desolate. So already you can see that these people have looked at the reactions to Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman and said, you know, we've got to be careful here. We know what people don't like. So let's do our own thing, but let's not shave against the grain. Let's shave with the grain. Let's work with the fans here, because at the end of the day, we need them. We need the fans. We don't want to upset the fans. So even though this is kind of similar to what we saw in Man of Steel, it's very interesting that it's been revealed that this character is in fact Superman's half-brother, and Lara was forced to marry somebody else. Now, it's clear this character wants Superman to unite with him. He sees him as a brother, but Superman doesn't want to hurt anyone. So he wants him. I want us to stand together. But if you don't stand with me, I will annihilate you, or whatever he says to him. And so Superman and Lois just pleases every week. It's doing something incredibly unique. Again, it's taking what Man of Steel did and twisting it around, but it's also looking at the comics with John Kent Jr., which I think is interesting, because as we saw, there's a comic book where he's about to become Superman right now, which is interesting. Now, right now, John Kent, a young boy, named after his grandfather, his Earth grandfather, by the way, hasn't got any powers. He's dormant. But Jordan, the brother who's not in the comics, has powers. Now, we know that John not having powers isn't going to stick. Are these two going to become enemies? There hasn't really been many hints. It's interesting with Smallville, because you have to use the Smallville comparisons and analogies. Smallville made sure they hinted to Lex Luthor's dark future, but we all knew who Lex was. It was intriguing and interesting to see them become friends and have this nice, placid Lex at first. with kind of hints of his darkness, but we all knew where they were going. But it was just interesting to see how they were going to go to the megalomaniac Lex Luthor, and they did it so well. Well, we don't know Jordan. We don't know what's going to become of Jordan. So that's kind of a different kind of interesting. That's a different kind of exciting. How do they pay this off? Because they will have to be enemies. This kid is going to go down a dark tunnel unless Jordan becomes the hero and Jonathan becomes the villain. But I don't think so. He's more of a mainstream kind of character, Jonathan. You can tell that Jordan could go dark very quickly. It's nobody knows what's going to happen to him unless we have some kind of flash forward. Now you look at Superman and Lois, and already people are saying, I don't get it. Why is nobody mentioning the Arrowverse? Of course, we're going to see John Diggle, David Ramsey guest star very quickly. He's an Arrowverse character. That's the connection. But what's going on here is directly linked to Crisis. Now, when Crisis happened, the characters in the show, in the franchise, believe there's only one Earth now. Of course, this simply isn't true. And this is proved when Ezra Miller's Flash meets Grant Gustin's The Flash. There are multiple Earths out there, which we will see in a huger, larger scale in Andy Muschietti's Flash movie. And Grant Gustin is rumoured to join that, and I believe so. And there'll be many other Arrowverse characters and other characters from other iterations of DC cameoing in that film as well. But what you're seeing in Superman and Lois is very similar to what's going to happen after Flashpoint, after the Flash movie, where these DCEU characters will for a little while forget their other connections, right? They will forget what they knew because the Earth's been reset. The Earth, whatever Earth they're on, it's been reset. So although nothing's going to get forgotten, it will be forgotten for a little while. Like in Superman and Lois, he's forgotten Kara. He's forgotten the other Arrowverse characters. But eventually, these characters will have total recall. And I think the total recall is coming, by the way, with David Ramsey's Diggle. But does Diggle remember Superman? That's interesting. If Superman and Lois don't remember all these characters, where is Diggle now? We know he's found the ring. We know he's rejected the ring. We know he will embrace the ring. I know he was in Batwoman. I wasn't interested in that episode, and I love David, and I love the fact that his character's getting this opportunity and the actors getting chances to direct all these shows. It's great. But that episode is all about identity politics, and I really am not interested. I'm done with identity politics. If you want to talk about important commentary, talk about starving children, talk about the important issues of this world. You know, racism is a serious thing, and identity politics is certainly a conversation we can have, but I don't think it's the most important thing facing us today. But it's become the most important thing facing us today because the extremists in Hollywood just don't get it. They don't care about starving children. They just care about identity politics, and they're destroying the industry. And that's a shame. But we'll see how we get on, and we'll see if all us good fans will be driven out of it as well. I hope not. So that's Superman and Lois. So there's a great example and tease of what's going to happen after Flashpoint. These characters will forget for a short while. We've been told they won't forget, but they will forget just for a short while, like the Superman and Lois characters have. So this is why Morgan Edge was recast. It wasn't a recasting. It's because actually he's a Kryptonian. We should have actually seen through it, but they've done it in such a clever way. We're saying, you know, there's been recasts before. There's been recasts for Supergirl's mum, biological mother, in Supergirl, when obviously Erica Durance replaced the other actor who did a good job, by the way. So that wasn't a multiverse thing. That was just a recast. It's Erica Durance who played Lois Lane in Smallville. Let's fucking do this. Fuck off, other actress. That's Hollywood, isn't it? But there's that. Now, actors who were in the Suicide Squad are starting to watch the movie. And here's another reaction that I screenshotted from James Gunn's story over on my Instagram, which is also Movies TV Mad. I'm actually at Movies TV Mad 555 on there. If you want to check me out on Instagram, it's a brand new Instagram. I've got rid of my old one. It's all about Movies TV Mad now. It's all about bringing entertainment, news, updates, and opinion to you now on all my socials. So that's very exciting for me. Hopefully, I can make it a success, and maybe you can help me make it a success if you like me and you want me to be a success. Maybe you don't. Maybe you want to downvote everything I do. Maybe you hate me, and that's fair enough. There's not a big distance between hate and love. So if you kind of hate me, you kind of love me as well. Well, that's the way that's what's going to help me sleep at night anyway. Anyway, I don't know which cast member this is, and I think it's David Dasmashlian. Actually, I think apparently he's the only actor who's seen it, but I don't think that's true. Anyway, I've just gotten to see the film, and it is so incredible, so mind-blowing, so beautiful, so brutal, and so bold. I cannot wait for people to get to see the film. It's something that is going to be, I think, audiences will be roaring, and I can't wait to get to see it live in a theatre with audiences, and I can't wait to see the full movie. I have seen a 90-minute test screening of this film, by the way, and everything that David says here is spot on. This isn't Guardians of the Galaxy. This isn't the Mouse. This isn't Mickey Mouse. This is not Donald Duck. This is not the MCU. This is DC. In the comics, the Suicide Squad are more brutal stories, but there is elements of kind of levity and comedy as well in the film, the moments that I saw. But a 90-minute test screening isn't the full movie, and I can't wait, like you, to see this movie and see what cameos and links we have to the rest of the DCEU and things like that as well. So this is very, very exciting. And I know it's the cast, and you expect the cast to say nice things, but that kind of description is a very accurate description of the movie I partially saw. So that is awesome. If you like what's going on right now, please like, share, and subscribe. Please comment. I don't bite. 4 people in the chat. Come on. Oh, we had a floater, and you've gone, never mind, let's carry on with the show, because people will be rewatching this and expecting a proper daily show, so we must always remember that. So let's go over to Twitter, and let's start with your articles, up giving you the entertainment updates that you deserve. I'll be right with you when I find the first article. Right, here we go. And right, we got a fly here with us now, and that fly is going to annoy me and go on me and make me look so unprofessional. Isn't that great? Go away, fly. Screen rant. What Florence Powell's black... here we go. Of course. Leave me alone. What Florence Powell's Black Widow character adds to the Marvel Universe. Florence Powell's Yelena Belova is expected to play a key role in the franchise after Black Widow. She reveals what her character adds to the MCU by Anna Dumarog of Screen Rant. Right, let's turn the aircon on. Let's get rid of this fly, because they do not like the cold. I'm not having it. I'm talking. I'm trying to update my audience here, all 2 of them, right? Right. Florence Powell's teased what Yelena Belova adds to the MCU ahead of her debut in Black Widow. What is likely Scarlett Johansson's final Marvel Studios movie as Natasha Romanoff. Don't take that as read, by the way. The film will introduce a string of new players into the MCU. This includes her Russian spy family composed of David Harbour's Alexei Shostakov, Red Guardian, Rachel Weisz, Melina Vostokov, and the Avengers' younger sister, Yelena, who's officially going to be the brand new Black Widow, worst kept secret. Working around Nat's death in Avengers Endgame, Black Widow is set in between the events of Captain America Civil War and Avengers Infinity War. It will see the hero revisiting her past on a solo mission that will tackle some unfinished business for her and her Russian clan. Although Marvel Studios has been secretive about the plot specifics for Black Widow, marketing has focused on highlighting the dynamic between Nat and Yelena, with the trailers repeatedly featuring the pair's brutal first meeting, and, well, I won't call it brutal, and the action sequence that follows it. Outside of her relationship with Nat, however, Poe previews what the arrival of her character in the MCU means for the franchise. Screen Rant was invited to the set of Black Widow, where the Midsommar and Little Women actress teased Yelena's role in the franchise. Moving forward, according to Powell, her character is effective at her job. Nothing can stop her from doing whatever she sets her mind to. Yelena is also straightforward in her approach to things. I think Hulk could stop her, right? Just a guess. What I like about Yelena and the Yelena we've created, even in terms of the costume, is that there is no messing. There is no bells and whistles with her. She gets the job done. Whether that's fighting someone or verbally abusing someone, it's all pretty straightforward. I've loved playing her. She's ready to fight, whether it's argument or physical. There's no stopping her. Based on what's been seen from Yelena thus far, she seems like a more light-hearted version of Nat. She kids around, pokes fun at her sister's antics. Her sense of humour can also be biting when she makes comments about sensitive issues. That said, she appears to be no nonsense as well. When Red Guardian questions where the Avengers are during the events of Black Widow, Yelena almost comically hits him on the face to shut him up. It's almost as she doesn't have any patience for Alexi's jokes, as she rolls her eyes during his and Melina's flirtation during their first meal back together as a family. But of course, she doesn't go for the mother, she goes to the man, her father. Lastly, and potentially the biggest difference between Yelena and Nat, is the former's penchant for planning, while Nat is a great improviser. Her younger sister likes things to be laid out. This is highlighted during Black Widow car chase scene in Budapest, where Yelena is less than thrilled to know that the Avenger has no clear way of the predicament they're in. Since Yelena is expected to take over the Black Widow mantle in the MCU, it will be interesting to see how she will interact with the other heroes from the franchise as their paths eventually converge. Yeah, very interesting. What we're going to get from this character, because at the end of the day, we are going to have to like her. And Hollywood have this weird thing of not being able to write women and kind of making them unlikable. And if we say they're unlikable, apparently we're intimidated by strong women. No, we hate annoying, gobby people, whether they're men or women. It doesn't make a difference, by the way. So that's Florence Pugh. Now, Furisa's Anya Taylor-Joy excited to work with George Miller. Anya Taylor-Joy expresses her excitement to be working with George Miller on the Mad Max Fury Road prequel, Furiosa, in a new interview by Grant Herman's A Screen Rant. Anya Taylor-Joy expresses her excitement to be working with George Miller on the Mad Max Fury Road prequel, I can't even read it, Furiosa. In a new interview, George Miller's action-packed franchise has been one of the most celebrated of the genre since getting underway, with the Mel Gibson-led 1979 debut installment. After spending years in development hell due to financial issues, Miller finally revived the series with 2015's Fury Road, which received the highest reviews and box office returns of the hour for films and renewed audience interest in the post-apocalyptic universe. Yeah, George Miller's Mad Max Fury Road is a great movie, but let's not start saying, it's better than the others or blah, blah, blah. Mel Gibson's movies are iconic and classic. So back in your box, modern era. Despite this success and plans for multiple follow-ups, the franchise has had a rocky road in the following years due to the financial lawsuit between Miller's production label and Warner Brothers. Following the settlement of the suit, development got back on track, beginning with Furiosa, as Miller quickly began scouting and casting the film, including Taylor-Joy in the titular role alongside Chris Hemsworth. Oh, Chris Hemsworth's going to be in this. Although normally when Chris is in other movies, they don't do very well, do they? And Yahya Abdul-Mateen too, that's our Black Manta, by the way. With the start of production coming up, Taylor-Joy is opening up about her work on the highly anticipated film. By the way, just interrupting this, if this director now, and I've forgotten his name already, this is George Miller, isn't it? George Miller was going to do a Justice League movie, right? So if he settled his lawsuit with Warner Brothers, could he still do that Justice League movie? Who knows? Exciting times over at DC and WB. In the latest installment of Variety's Actors and Actors series, Taylor-Joy chatted with her Emma co-star Josh O'Connor about working on the Fury Road prequel. In addition to discussing her Spanish-speaking father's teasing over Furiosa's name, the Golden Globe winner opened up about her excitement to be working with Miller on the project. Read what Taylor-Joy had to say below. The thing that makes me most excited about Furiosa is, number one, George Miller. That brain is incredible. I feel so lucky and privileged to spend time with him and to grow alongside him. I'm also really excited to do something physical. To physically become something else is something that will weirdly give me a lot of peace. I'm quite excited to work hard. My dad gives me a lot of help because we speak Spanish. He calls her Furiosa with a pronounced accent. And I'm like, it's an English-speaking film. But like, okay, Daddy, I've got a grace period until August, and then I will be working back-to-back until mid-2023. And that's great for Anya Taylor-Joy, isn't it? Though Taylor-Joy has received plenty of attention for her roles in Netflix, The Queen's Gambit, and indie horror pick The Witch, Miller's Furiosa will mark the biggest production to date for the actress after the flop of The New Mutants, and it couldn't be a better project for her. Across his 50-year career, Miller has made the rare distinction of only having one critical disappointment on his resume, and Fury Road was one of the biggest surprise successes of them all. With the previous film not only coming 30 years prior, but also alienating some fans, the notion of bringing the franchise back for a fourth installment with a new actor was questionable, and yet it became one of the greatest films the action genre has ever seen. They keep on going back to the Mel Gibson ones trying to be negative. Why don't you fuck off? But it's interesting, isn't it? Let me ask you a question. There's three of you in this chat. Who would you rather do another Justice League? Zack Snyder or George Miller? Don't be biased. Be honest. Comment now. Taylor-Joy may be keeping properly mum on what will be coming from Furiosa, but her comments regarding the brilliant nature of Miller's work and the physicality required for the film are very promising. Miller's shift in actors once again from Charlize Theron to Taylor-Joy may be putting some in doubt, but given how well the transition from Gibson to Tom Hardy worked in Fury Road, it should be exciting for audiences to see what Taylor-Joy does with the role, with production slated to begin in August and the film slated for 2020 for a free release. There will be some time before the beans are spilled on the long-awaited prequel. So, confession, I haven't seen it. I've seen the first 10 minutes, not because I didn't want to. It's one of those films that I wasn't desperate to see. And when that happens to me, I always forget to watch it. But I have to catch up with it, especially with this prequel happening. I like Anya Taylor-Joy. She's a very talented actor, and I can't wait what she does in this movie. And George Miller is an iconic director. Personally, I'd rather like to see a George Miller Justice League. We've seen a Zack Snyder Justice League. Let's see what George Miller could do. I think that would be very exciting for me. So there's that. We have more from Florence Powell. Black Widow star teases heartbreaking Red Room storyline. Black Widow's Florence Powell previews the heartbreaking story at the center of the Marvel movie, which is tied to the mysterious Red Room by Rachel Abernathy of Screen Rant. Black Widow star Florence Powell previews the heartbreaking Red Room storyline that lies ahead in the MCU film. Though Natasha Romanoff's Scarlett Johansson has been a part of the MCU since almost the very beginning of the series, her first solo movie comes as the 24th film in the entire franchise. Black Widow was slated to arrive last year as the first movie in the MCU's Phase 4, but the coronavirus pandemic delayed it multiple times, and at long last, the Kate Shortland-directed project will premiere in theatres and on Disney Plus via Premier Access in just a few weeks. Set in between Captain America Civil War and Avengers Infinity War, Black Widow will find Natasha at a crossroads in the aftermath of the Avengers fight over the Sokovia Accords. Natasha soon is forced on a trip down memory lane as she revisits her past as an assassin trained by the mysterious Red Room. In an effort to take down the Red Room once and for all, Nat joins forces with her one-time spy family comprised of Yelena Belova, Powell, Melina Vostokov, Rachel Weisz, and Alexei Shostakov, David Harbour. Back when Black Widow was in the production, Screen Rant visited the set. During the interview with Powell, the Oscar-nominated actress previewed the devastating story at the center of the Marvel movie. It's all tied to the Red Room, and when Powell was asked about